welcome to another video. Hope everyone's doing alright and that, and welcome to the second part of the Ford Escort Mark 1 build. Fantastic. If you watch part 1, you'll have seen I got most of the engine block built up and that. It took me time. I managed to get all the parts on. Very small, very tricky. I've got as much detail in as I possibly could. And I'll tell you what, I'm pretty pleased with how that one's come out. Everything's sitting correctly and that. The airbox is sitting nicely on top of the carburetor. Fantastic. But in this video, I'm going to concentrate on getting as much of the building done as I possibly can. I'm not going to put the body on the car yet, because I don't know whether to paint it first, then put it on, or put it on and paint it. I haven't quite decided yet. But firstly, I'm going to concentrate on this floor pan. I'm going to try and get the inner wings on in the bulkhead without having to put the engine in, or any of the gubbins on the bottom, so I can paint it body colour. Fantastic. Then I'm going to move on to the interior. It's a bit sparse. There's only 2 number plates on the decal sheet, so there'll be no dials or anything. So it'll be a bit bland in that. I have tried to spice it up by painting the pedals and the gear stick. I might have to go back over them a bit. The same with the grille. I tried to do the grille on the last video and stuffed it up a little bit, so I might have to go back and paint that up. We're going to try and get as much of the interior built as possible. I'm not going to bother with the driver on this one, but I am going to keep this one in practice on it. So right, grab yourself a cuppa, put your feet up. Oh, one more thing, I'm going to try and run a pen around these windows to try and create the rubber effect. I don't know whether to do it in the car or off the car. Again, I haven't really decided. We'll just make it up as we go along. And yeah, fantastic. So right, grab yourself a cuppa. I'm going to stop waffling on. Let's see this model come together. Fantastic.
While Joe works on painting and building the interior of this model, let me tell you a story. It's a fictional story, but it could easily have happened. It's about a typical Ford Escort Mark 1, the kind of car that once filled the streets and driveways across the northeast of England. This one lived its life in and around South Shields. Our story starts in the year 1973. A man named Tommy had just bought the car brand new from a local dealership. It was a deep purple colour with a black vinyl interior. It looked smart. It even smelled brand new, like plastic, polish and pride. Tommy worked at the shipyards in South Shields as a welder. Every morning he would drive the Escort to work, wearing his overalls and steel-toe boots. The car wasn't flashy, but it was solid and dependable. Just like him. On the weekends, he used it for more than just getting around. He and his wife Sandra would take trips along the coast. They visited Whitby for fish and chips. They spent summer weekends in Scarborough, and once they took it all the way to the Lake District. They packed the boot with a thermos, a picnic blanket, and a box of boiled sweets. The Escort became part of their lives. It took them to weddings, birthdays, and even funerals. It carried shopping, garden tools, and once, an old armchair tied down with rope. They called it the Little One. Not because it was small, but because it was always reliable. After a few years, Tommy fancied a newer car. He had saved up for something with more comfort, a Cortina gear. So, in 1979, the Escort was cleaned up and sold. The next owner was a woman named Margaret. She was a midwife based in Row. She covered a huge area, visiting homes all over the northeast. From Sunderland to Bilbrook, the Escort was now her work car. She kept it clean, always had a blanket on the back seat. She kept a clipboard, a flask, and a biscuit tin in the boot. The car became part of her routine. People in the towns and villages got used to seeing it parked outside. It became a familiar sight, and people would say, "Here comes Margaret in that purple Escort." Then, in late 1982, Margaret saw something new. Ford had just released the Sierra. It looked futuristic, with a smooth shape and modern features. In early 1983, she traded in the Escort and bought one. It was the end of an era, but the Escort wasn't finished yet. It was bought by Kev, a 17-year-old apprentice mechanic from Hebburn. It was his first car. Kev was mad about motorsport. He had posters of rally drivers on his bedroom wall. He couldn't afford an RS200, but he had passion. And the Escort was a good place to start. He began working on it straight away. He cleaned out the engine bay. He fitted spotlights to the front. He painted racing stripes down the sides. They were a little bit crooked, but he didn't mind. He found a second-hand bucket seat at the scrapyard. He added a rev counter using sticky pads. The exhaust got louder. The tires got wider. It wasn't a professional job, but it had personality. Kev used to take it out into the countryside near Whitburn. He would imagine he was on a rally stage. In his head, he was one of the greats, maybe Roger Clark or Ari Bakhtanen. And to be fair, the Escort had a real rally history. Between 1972 and 1979, the Ford Escort had dominated the RAC rally. It was tough, light, and easy to fix. That's why so many people loved it. It was the working class hero of the road. Kev's mates thought the car was brilliant. It turned heads on Ocean Road, especially outside the chip shop. Even older blokes nodded with respect when they saw it. But, like most first cars, it didn't last forever. Kev got a full-time job. He moved out of his mam's house. He got a newer car. The Escort was parked in the back garden and covered with a tarpaulin. And that's where it stayed. A little older, a little rusty, but still remembered. Now, years later, it's being built again. Not in a garage, but as a model. Joe's model might be small, but it tells a big story. It's a tribute to a car that served its owners well. From shipyard welders to midwives to young lads dreaming of rally stardom. It's not just plastic and paint. It's a little piece of Northeast motoring history.
Right, I think I'm going to leave this part of the video here. I've got about as much of the interior built up at this stage as I possibly can. There is a few bits left on the sprue, like the steering wheel and the dashboard. But I think they go up inside the body of the car when we go to assemble it and that. I haven't varnished it yet. I'm going to wait until I varnish the body of the car, so I'm only getting the airbrush out once for varnish. I struggled with the interior. I made an absolute rookie mistake of painting the parts first. You'd think I should learn this lesson because I do it every time. But I think I could have got away with just painting the engine, then gluing everything else up, and it would have been much better, much better. The paint, again, another rookie mistake. I was meant to paint a blue Escort. It's turned out purple. I think that's just down to the black primer that I used, and it's turned the paint. I tried to put a couple of layers on, but it was just getting more and more purple. But I'm going to persevere with it with the body and that. So I'm going to prime the body black, then paint the outside with this again, and hopefully I'll get a solid purple colour in that. So if you like the video, hit likes, hit subscribes, do all the YouTubey stuff for us and that. And hopefully we'll come back in part 3 and we'll get ourselves a Mk1 Escort. Fantastic. See you later.